Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Great. So nice to see everyone. Hi, I'm Catherine, and I just invited Andy Derrick from Art Square, who's hosting the webinar with me, to join me. So hopefully he'll be able to join me and say a few words to you. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited. This is going to be a great webinar. I'm seeing new names also that I don't know. So I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you. So you're seeing me, you're hearing me, right? Can you tell me in the chat box that you're hearing me properly? Yes. Okay, great. Okay, wonderful. Okay, wonderful. So we're going to wait a little more to see if Andy can join us. I invited him to join. Let's see if he's joining. Okay. And then we will get started. So where is everybody from? Tell me where you're from. I'm excited. There are names here I don't know. Hi, Sally. Hi, Roger, Kelly. I'm so sorry. I saw in the last email that the time, there was an error in the email and the time wasn't confirmed. So yes, we are starting now. It's 2 p.m. Eastern time, and we will get started very soon. Okay, San Francisco, Connecticut. Wow. I have a friend in San Francisco right now. Denver, Germany. Great. Hi, Stephanie. Nice to see you. Upstate New York. Oh, that's not too far from where I am. I'm in Bromont, which is in the eastern townships, the eastern, really, really close to the border. I'm very, very close to the border. Okay, so I can't see Andy. I see he's here, but he can't seem to be able to join us. Okay, so he just wrote in the chat he's not getting the invite. Okay, probably there's a pop-up situation happening. So we're not going to wait any longer. I am going to get started, but I will take this opportunity to thank Derek and Thomas from Art Square for inviting me and for us working together. We've done a few webinars together over the past 6 months or so, and it's been wonderful. I just love connecting with the Art Square gang. You've been so supportive, and I'm happy if some of you are new and are coming in through Art Square. Andy and Thomas are wonderful, and I'm so excited to have you among us today. So I will open my presentation, and I won't keep you waiting any longer. Voila. And here we are. Okay, there's just one thing I need to fix. Okay, voila. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the top 10 mistakes that are killing your art business, okay? Thank you, all of you, all the artists who are joining Art Square and myself today. I'm one of those people who strongly believe that time is our most valuable resource. It's a finite resource, right? So I appreciate you being here with me, and I will do my best, like I do at every webinar, to give you as much value as possible over the course of the next hour. I want to go through the content as quickly as possible, because what's the most important for me is this time we spend at the end to answer your questions. So I want to keep some time at the end to answer your questions, because that's really where we dig deep and the content starts applying to your specific situations, right? So if you have questions throughout, Please note them down. It's difficult for me to answer the questions while I'm doing the presentation, although I'm working on multiple screens, but please take note your questions so you don't forget them. And then at the end of the presentation, we will go through the chat box and I will answer your questions that will be posted on the chat box. Okay, let's do this. So what we'll be talking about today, a quick overview. Okay, so first, yes, why you should be excited about selling as you are about creating your art, right? I know you're rolling your eyes, but I'm going to explain to you why later. The top 10 mistakes, and that's the core of today's presentation, right? The top 10 mistakes that are keeping you from getting more sales. And it's not enough to just talk about the mistakes, right? So I'm going to share with you how to fix those mistakes so you can build a collector base. The one thing most artists are doing that is costing them sales, how taking action and fixing only one of these 10 mistakes can change your business entirely inside out, and the key and forgotten ingredient that will turn a customer into a collector. So you can finally start reaching your business goals. Okay, so most of you know me, so I will do a very, very short introduction because there are people in this group who don't know who I am. I'm French Canadian, that's the French accent, so sometimes I just pop out French words. If I do, I'm sorry. I live, like I said, in the beautiful town of Bromont in the Eastern Townships, near the American border. And I won't go through my credentials because I have a website for that, which is www.theartistentrepreneur.com. If you want to know more about me and my credentials, what I want to share with you is a story that I think will really resonate and will explain why I do what I do. So, very short story. When I started college, I wanted to major in art history. Maybe you know this story. I wanted to major in art history, but I went to have a conversation with one of my teacher in the arts to get his opinion on the best program I should be choosing. And he told me, and I quote, "Catherine, you have so much potential. You can do whatever you want. Please don't go in the arts. Please don't, because you'll be starving all your life. I've been doing this 25 years and I still don't have, job security and a regular income." So, like the good girl that I was, I decided to go listen to him. When he told this to me, he really took all my insecurities and put them back in my face, right? So I said, okay then. So I went to study communications, marketing, and PR. And that's what I did when I get 15 years ago when I got out of university. I worked in corporate communications and marketing. But very quickly, I realized that I absolutely hated it. Who here can relate to absolutely hating your day job? Like, I would hate it. And then one day I realized, because I was really, really close to burnout, that I had two choices. I could either continue like this for the next 40 to 50 years and be resentful. At that point, I was 25 years old. I had a really great job. I was doing great salary, but I was bitter at 25. Can you believe that? Being bitter at 25? And I was going to be bitter for the next 45 years, right? Or I can make a plan and change my life. And that's exactly what I did. It took me a year by the time that I made that decision. But after a year, I was able to leave my corporate job. I sold a few things and I moved to Paris to study the business of art at Christie's. Everyone in my family, my friends, especially my boss, thought I was crazy. He even told me, when you're back from your little trip, feel free to come back and we'll rehire you. He was like, yeah, right, as if. I can tell you today, it was the best move of my life. I have studied the business of art in Paris. I worked in art galleries when I was there. I learned how the market works. I came back to Canada. I worked in high-end art galleries, international art fairs, and now I work directly with artists, helping them build their business and career. I've never regretted my decision. And that's why when I tell artists, whether it's here, whether it's on the Artist Entrepreneur Network or my clients, that you can do whatever you want, not only do I mean it, but I know it. I know it's possible. I wish I could see that teacher again, because I could tell him that he was so wrong and that I am so happy. And I do now have a sustainable business that I'm really happy about, I'm proud about, and I know that I can continue in the long run, right? So anyway, that's enough about me. If you want to know more about me, like I said, you can visit my website, or you can join us on the Artist Entrepreneur Network, a free Facebook group that I lead, where over 11,000 artists, we're now 11,000 artists, come in and share, learn, and network on their art business. Okay, enough about me. Let's talk about you. So I always like to start my webinars by setting the mood, right? Because you all know that I love having fun and don't want to make this too heavy on you. So I want to know how you're feeling about the topic we're exploring today. So I want to know, and you can tell me in the chat box, how are you feeling about your art business today? And how you feel about sales. Okay, so because for me, it all goes together, right? Because if you're not selling, you don't have a business, right? And here's the photo that I chose, and let me know if it resonates. Yeah, the hamster on the wheel, right? The overwhelm, the feeling that I'm doing so much work. I work all the time, whether it's on my art, on my business, but I'm getting so little results. I feel like I'm not going anywhere. I'm just running in circles. And I'm laughing because I find the hamster funny, but it's not funny at all, right? Because that's not why you got into this in the first place. It wasn't to feel overwhelmed. It wasn't to feel like you're never going to get anywhere. You wanted recognition. You wanted to do something you're passionate about. You wanted to be able to see that you could, bring joy or whatever the reason why you're creating to the world. But let me ask you another question. Isn't Einstein's definition of insanity doing the same thing over and over again while expecting different results? And that's also something that I've noticed. Don't get me wrong. I don't believe that you can build an art business overnight, okay? That's the last thing I want you to think about when you think about me. I'm not a quick fixer. I'm not a quick, get rich, 6 figures and, 2 months kind of person. Not at all. It takes time and commitment to build an art business. But there are things that you can do that will give you more results, that will move the needle faster. And focused action and consistent action is definitely the first place to go. And that's what we're going to talk about, where to focus and where you need to be consistent in your business. So at the beginning, I told you that you need to start enjoying sales. And let's tell it like it is, guys. There's nothing wrong with wanting to make money. There's nothing wrong with seeking recognition. There's nothing wrong to be excited about a sale or a success. And I know that it doesn't come naturally for artists. I know that there's a long history of the starving artist myth that we all need to get rid of. I know that being excited for our own successes can seem like, boasting or can feel uncomfortable, but you need to start feeling it. Because if you don't start feeling it and don't start being excited about it, then you'll not be able to develop genuine relationships with your audience and your collectors. You'll keep procrastinating about sales and your business and the things that you know you should be doing, but you're not doing. You're just keeping busy. Because, by the way, busy is not necessarily mean that will lead to success, right? It's not because you're busy that you're going to be successful. You won't get the results. Like I said, no sales equals no business. And you won't be having fun. Let's remember why you got in this art business in the first place. You wanted creative freedom, right? Doing what you love. So can we start having fun again, right? Because I love this quote from Zig Ziglar. It says, selling isn't something you do to someone. It's something you do for someone. We had this conversation about mindset last week. And today is a continuity of that, right? With more actionable content, but it all starts in your head, right? And if you can't integrate that it's not something that you impose on people, your art, you're not imposing it on anyone. You're sharing it, you're doing it for the people, you're creating it for people. Okay, so let's get into the content. Isaac, I totally agree. Efficiency versus busyness, and also choosing the right action, right? Keeping busy as long is worth nothing if you're not doing the right thing. So today we're going to talk about the right things, where we need to put our energy. So the top 10 mistakes that too many artists make. And I'm curious, at the end we'll talk and we'll see which, if any of you say, I'm not making any of these mistakes, I'm pretty sure you'll find at least one that you'll be guilty of. Okay, so mistake number one, artists aren't coherent on their offer and whom it's for. So what do I mean by that? They don't have a cohesive plan, or maybe they do have a plan, but they're not following it, right? For their business. So how do we fix that? Well, it's easy to say create a plan, right? But what does building a coherent offer mean? Well, first, you need to take a step back. As a business and PR strategist, I love the 10,000 feet view of any art business. I need to take a step back so I can have a clear snapshot of what my client's business is, right? That's why I ask a bunch of questions. And that's why when you come on the Facebook group and you ask me a question, I usually answer you with another question, right? Because we need to really understand your particularity so I can give you a tailored answer. So what does that mean? Well, it means, and if you followed my business plan webinar, you're recognizing these elements that I'm sharing today. Your art, your brand, your audience, your pricing, and your sales channels. They need to work together. They need to be going all in the same direction. They need to be coherent. They need to be cohesive. You need to make sure you connect the dots. And it's when you're having that 10,000 feet overview of your business and you're looking at these elements that you'll notice which ones are stopping you, are stopping your growth, right? Which one is not coherent with the others and is not giving you the opportunity to grow. Because we talk a lot about in the group and on the lab about building multiple streams of income for your business. But if you're not coherent on your art, your audience, your sales channels, your brand, it's going to be very difficult for you to build different streams of income because you're going to be all over the place and people coming to you will not understand what your business is. And if people don't understand, they're not going to buy. So first step is to take a step back and to have a really good look at your business and make sure your offer is coherent. Mistake number 2, artists who are not using the power of storytelling. And if, like me, you're on Facebook, you've seen this way too often. In today's world where we are exposed to thousands, and I'm not saying this lightly, it's absolutely true, of messages, images, advertising every single day, compelling storytelling becomes an essential part of any branding, including yours as an artist. I've been working in PR for 15 years, and the first thing you learn and the first thing you talk about with your clients when you talk about PR and exposure is, what's your message? Well, as artists, you need to get really clear on what your message is and craft a compelling message for your audience that will keep your fans coming back for more. So practicing through journaling and really nailing your message is essential. And then you need to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it so that it really sinks in your audience's mind, so that they really can understand how you are different from everybody else. And it's not your audience's job to figure out how different you are from everybody else, because they are bombarded by images and ads and visuals all day. It is your job to make sure that you distinguish yourself. And the first way to do that is through compelling storytelling. Mistake number 3, they don't make their website easy to navigate and buy. Something we talk a lot about in the Facebook group, on the lab with my clients. Your website, it's your window to the world, right? It's your vitrine, as we would say in French. Usually the first place where people are in contact with your art. I always like to compare your website like your home. The same way you're the host when you have guests coming to your home, you are the host when people visit your website. It's your responsibility to make your visitor's experience fun and effective. Because guess what? 55% of visitors spend fewer than 15 seconds on your website. So if they don't find what they're looking for in a few clicks, they're out of there. So I'm telling you, you need to make it easy to buy, to sign up to your newsletter, to connect with your work, to connect with you. And that is all. If you can nail that down, you are done. Crisp and simple is the way to go. Think about art gallery. The most well-known art galleries, what are they? There are simple white walls. That's what and it's all about the artwork and about the artist. Well, that's what your website needs to be. Simple, crisp, white walls, and your art. You don't need the latest gadgets. You don't need the latest widgets. You just need to make it easy to navigate, connect, and buy. Mistake number 4. They aren't focused on building an audience. I'm going to be more specific because we could talk about social media audience, email marketing audience, live connecting live. I'm going to talk about more specifically email marketing because especially if you're not living in a city that's has a very vibrant art communities. A lot of people ask me, how do I sell my art if I live, in a very small town or where art is not very valued? Well, you're going to need to get your online selling groove on, right? And email is outperforming, well, Twitter, we could have guessed that, no new big news there, but even Facebook for selling online. I'm not saying that social media is not important, but I always say this though, you don't own Facebook, you don't own Instagram, you don't own Twitter. When I hear people getting really upset about the changes that Facebook do to algorithm, I'm like, you can get upset as much as you like, but you know, Zuckerberg can do whatever he wants. He owns the thing. On the other hand, you can do whatever you want with your email list because you own it. See the difference? So you can't always be relying on a third party, because if you spend so much time building Facebook and in 6 months everybody drops Facebook for whatever scandal happens and moves to another platform, you need to start all over again. But if you have a very solid email list, this is yours to keep, makes your business much more sustainable. So that's why it needs to be a priority. Even in terms of your website, your first goal should be to capture leads, because people rarely buy on the first visit. Think about, you know, when you visited, you know, e-commerce sites, have you bought on the first time you were there? Probably not. So you, by capturing leads, by capturing email address, you want to have the opportunity to connect with them after they left your site and build a relationship, and then lead them back to your website eventually. So if you're tight on time and resources and want to sell online, email marketing, for the reasons I just gave you, should be your #1 priority. And taking action on this only one thing, and focusing on that and building that can change your business entirely. Unless, mistake #5, you're too focused on building an audience. I know, I'm contradicting myself. #4 was building you're not building the audience, and now I'm saying you're too focused on building the audience. Well, I was on the debate team in high school. I always look at both sides of a story, of a position, inside out, so I can be really good at debating anytime. So I'm always like to make myself the devil's advocate. And although I do believe that it's essential to build an audience, I want to be the devil's advocate and tell you that it's not enough to build the audience, okay? You need to engage with it and activate that audience. So some people will tell you that with an email list, it's basically a numbers game, right? So there are some formulas that you can look at, that if you have a certain number of people on your email list, it will guarantee you a certain return of sales. Yes and no. You can have a huge list, a huge audience, but if you aren't connecting, if you're not activating your list, your people, if you're not selling, nothing can happen. Nothing will happen because you're not doing anything with that list. And trust me, it might sound very basic what I'm sharing with you, but I've seen this firsthand, right? People who have a list, but they're so worried about bothering people that they don't even activate that list and make sure that they have offers on the table. So you could have a much smaller list than another artist and do better than them if on your list you have people who are the right fit for your work, right? When I said earlier that it needs to be all cohesive with your brand. So if the people on your list are the right people, and if you engage and connect with them in a meaningful and consistent way. So just building the list, building the audience, it's not enough, okay? You need to nurture the people that you have. So if you're spending so much time just, you know, building and building and building, but not enough time nurturing the list, then what's the point? I just wanted to make sure you were listening. Okay, mistake #6. They don't practice sales conversation. So that's another point that we talked about last week. I'm just going to take a sip of my water. So if you're putting yourself out there with your art, you will inevitably have sales conversation. And if you don't practice them, you will lose money. You will lose sales, which equals losing money. The only way to master the art of sales conversation is by building your confidence, and that takes practice. You can't wing it. Trust me, I tried. And I've seen artists try, and it was a crash and burn, and it was so sad. And you don't want that, because it's like the hamster again. If you don't practice, you'll crash and burn, your confidence will take a hit, and then next time you won't be confident, so you'll crash and burn even more, and then your confidence will take a hit, and then you'll never want to show up in front of a potential buyer or collector ever again, and you'll just want to hide, and you'll comfort yourself by saying, well, I tried and it didn't work. Well, maybe you tried, but did you try properly, right? Did you practice? So here are a few tips. So list the frequently asked questions and objections you've gotten so far. Maybe people inquire on your website, they ask you questions on your social media. If it never happened, well, ask them. Ask them. Create a post on social media and ask people to give you feedback and ask you questions, right? Practice role playing, so important. Ask, an artist friend. Practice, among artists. Ask a family member. Ask your partner, your mirror. Do it in front of the mirror. I don't care, but do it. Okay, put those words in your mouth and practice saying them. And third, visualize outcomes. Instead of thinking about how uncomfortable you're going to be during that conversation, think about what's going to happen after the conversation. That moment when you're going to shake your collector's hand and you're going to see his or her smile because they're taking home one of your pieces, right? Visualize yourself packing the artwork and being so excited about it. Visualize your client being so excited about hanging the piece in their living room or their bedroom or their hallway, and being so proud about sharing it with their family and their friends. I want to tell you something. I've worked in the arts for quite a while now. I've sold art. I've bought art. And please believe me when I tell you, and I still buy art, by the way. Please believe me when I tell you that it's a great moment in one's life when you can do that, when you can invest in an artist and you can invest in his or her work. So stop thinking that we're making you a favor by buying your work. We're not doing it for you. We're doing it for ourselves because we really want it. So be confident. Be confident that nobody's buying by pity. They're buying because they want it. And visualize that outcome will help you a lot. And please, 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 please don't compare yourself to others, right? What others are doing, you have nothing to do with that. They might be in another place in their business. They might have a personal situation that you don't know of. Don't compare yourself to others. Like, I have 11,000 artists on my Facebook group. None of them are in the same situation. So it's great to learn from each other's experiences. It's great to share, but you shouldn't compare yourself because none of you are the same. Okay, mistake number 7. This is something that most artists are doing, and believe me, it's costing them sales. They're not asking for the sale. We talked about building an audience earlier and the importance of, you know, activating your audience and engaging with them and and nurturing that audience, right? But I know artists who have an audience and are stuck in the nurturing part, right? They give value, they share their work, but they're afraid to promote their work. They're afraid to say that it's for sale. There's an offer on the table. There's a limited time. There's a limited edition. Like to create movement, to create action. And I've seen it firsthand with the group that I lead on the Artist Entrepreneur Lab. The lab, even just a couple of weeks ago, I had an artist who had an amazing breakthrough because she was always unsure about promoting, and she's very caring, very nurturing, but she was very, she wasn't confident about promoting herself. And one day, I don't know what triggered her, but she decided she was going to promote one offer, and it worked. And she came back and she said, oh my God, I just got X amount of sales just through one post. And she was so excited. And I was like, yay, that's what I've been talking about. If you're not putting an offer out there, how can you expect people to buy? Why is it okay for every other industry in the world to put offers out there and to let people know that they're open for business and not artists? I don't know why. If you know why, tell me in the comments, because I don't know. You need to share your work. You need to make it clear that it's for sale. You need to make it easy for people to buy. I know you don't want to spam people. I don't want you to spam people. There are good practices that you can follow, and one of them is the Pareto rule, the 80-20 rule. So if you're unsure of how much I should promote myself, always follow the 80-20 rule. So 80%, so let's say you're doing 10 posts a week. So let's work with the posts. It applies to everything else, your email, anything. So 80% should be about that relationship building, sharing value, sharing your process, sharing your story, sharing a video, sharing your blog post, sharing an inspirational quote that helps you in your creative process. You will share whatever fits with your brand, but the 80% should be about that. And then the 20% should be promotional. A soft promo, a hard promo, but at least 20% of all communications and that you do with your audience should be promotional. So I hope that this little tip, this little trick will help you be more promotional without feeling that you're spammy, right? That way, for every 5 posts that you do, you have 4 that are value and 1 that are promotional. Hopefully that helps you. Mistake number 8. So frequent. They don't follow up. Who are you afraid of bothering people? This is essential, okay? It's not about it being icky or pushy. It's about creating multiple touch points that will convert a lead into a buyer. It shows that you're a professional. So what do I mean by multiple touch points? Well, many professionals, and one that I know of is the Online Marketing Institute, but there are many others, will tell you that in today's online busy world, you need at least 7 touch points before a lead becomes a buyer. That means people need to see or hear from you or connect with you at least 7 times before they'll decide to buy. That's why earlier I said your first goal when people visit your website should be to sign up and not buy, because it's very rare that on the first touch point they will buy. Once they sign up to your email, then you can create multiple touch points, right? Your social media, your website, your email marketing. But connecting with someone who's demonstrated interest in your work and following up is another touch point. And it's really, really important. I know time is flying by, but I really want to tell you a true story so you'll get what I'm saying and you'll start feeling pushy or icky when you follow up. Last year, when I was preparing this webinar, I thought about this, that happened to me last year. Last year, I wanted to buy a course to perfect one of my skills in one specific area of social media. Someone just happened to connect with me, was an expert in that field, offered to train me. We were on a call together. I was away on holiday with my family for a few days. I wasn't able to make a decision right on the spot. So I told her, listen, I'm on holiday. And she said, great, I'll follow up with you next week. And if you're still okay with it, if you're still interested, we'll deep dive in the subject and we'll start working together. I said, great, follow up with me next week and we'll talk. Well, turns out the lady never followed up. And it's not because she's not looking for clients, because I follow her through social media and email, and I know that she's promoting and looking for clients. She never followed up with me for whatever reason. I realized a month after that she had never followed up with me, but I was still interested in perfecting that skill. Just so happened, I got an email from another professional. I was on the same topic. I was ready to take action. I bought that other program. Sad, because the first lady had done all the work. She had convinced me on the importance of me knowing that social media, of perfecting my skills, what it would do to my business. But when came the time to close, she didn't show up. So all the prep work she had done benefited the second lady. And this applies to you too. How does it apply to artists? Because most people you're going to meet aren't, people who have been collecting for 20 years. It might be the first, second, third time they're buying art. So you need to walk them through the idea of even investing in art, right? And that's a process that will take a little bit of time, right? If you've never bought art, it's an investment. Is it really something I want to put my money into? Okay, so this takes time to internalize. But if you don't follow up, then you're going to miss the sale, but maybe the person was ready, and then another artist will come along, and all that process that you've been through with that potential lead will benefit another artist, because they will be in an open mind to buy, but since you didn't follow up, they'll buy somebody else. I hope this is clear. Yes, Brad, yes, follow up or someone else will. Exactly, you just summed up everything I said in one sentence. Follow up or someone else will. So stop worrying so much about yourself and start thinking about looking professional and doing what it takes to get that sale. You can't force anyone to buy. If you follow up with someone and they don't want to buy, they'll tell you. Trust me. Okay, mistake number 9. I'm going to go through this quickly. They don't go their extra mile for their client. Wow, you're collectors, people, because there's a difference between a buyer and a collector. The buyer will buy once and you'll never hear from them again. The collector is someone who will follow you through your career and who will buy over and over and over. Repeat customer, that's what you want, right? You want someone who will get you referrals. You want someone who will be a repeat buyer. So customer experience is the future of marketing. And how does customer experience apply to you? Well, how do you package your work, right? How do you package it? How do you ship it? What kind of quality service, right? How quick are you to reply to an inquiry? Do you follow up after the sale? to ask, you know, your client satisfaction? Do you make sure that they're invited the next time you have an event? I can tell you that I've bought from artists and never heard from them again. What a missed opportunity, right? What a missed opportunity. I know they do art shows because I've seen them on social media. They haven't put me on their email list. They haven't connected me directly and say, hey, I'm doing this show next week. Would love to have you there. Making me feel special as a collector. And I'm saying myself, but I've heard this so many times from people who have bought art, that why do I never hear from the artist again? Like, I want to know what he's up to. Why do I want to know what he's up to? Because I've invested in that artist. So the more the artist is visible, the more the artist is doing something with its career, the more the artist is selling, the better for me, for my investment. So customer experience is so important. Another example I can give you is about packaging and shipping. I've received art in my home that was beautifully packaged and totally on brand, on time. It was amazing. And I've received art in my home, shipped to my home, that was damaged, that was not packaged in a very professional manner. And these things will cost you referrals, and they will cost you repeat buys. So I'm telling you, very important. Just give more than what the client is asking for. And mistake number 10, they don't have systems in place to track and measure. You don't have to be a whiz at math or numbers, but you do need to know how much it costs you to run your business and how and acquire clients and how and when you're going to be profitable. I've asked artists in the lab, my group program, you know, like when we establish a pricing strategy, what are your costs? And some of them told me, well, I don't know. Well, sit down, research it, figure it out. Like, it's really important. And if you can't figure it out by yourself, which is plausible, you know, we all have strengths and weaknesses, ask for help. Ask for help, because you need to know what your sales are, what your expenses are, what your profit margin is, what your list size, what your growth is in terms of list size, social media, website visits. You don't need to follow like 25 metrics, but there are 5 or 6 of them, like the ones I just told you, that you need to keep track of. Because eventually what you'll want to do is really get clear on your cost per acquisition. I hope I'm not losing you when I'm talking about cost per acquisition. What I mean here is, how much is it costing you to get a lead or to get a client? So important to distinguish. Great, happy to know that you're still here. It's important to distinguish, I think I'm gonna do a whole other webinar on just that topic, an expense versus an investment. I had a conversation with a client recently who said, I think I'm gonna pull out my ad, or I don't know if I should put an ad there because they're really expensive. And I said, yeah, but what kind of return are you getting on your other ads? She said, what do you mean? I said, well, an ad should give you return on investment. If you can't measure what kind of returns you're getting on your ads, then what's the point? And if you know that putting money into the ad, a certain amount of money will get you a certain amount of results, of return, of sales, then there's no reason to stop, right? Because you know you're getting a return. This could be a whole webinar, like I said, but I just want to open your eyes, because her eyes just lit up and she's like, I never thought about it that way. Well, you need to start thinking about it that way. You need to start understanding what's an expense, what's an investment, and how you can measure the returns so you can stop doing what's not working, what's not giving you results, and do more of and scale what's working. Because remember, it's your business. You get to call the shots. You decide what's important so you can have fun, right? So you can be like, yes! You need to stop worrying so much about what others say and think about your art business. Surround yourself with go-getters, action takers, risk takers. Surround yourself with people who get it. And you will enjoy your business much more. You will enjoy selling much more. And you will get much more results. I'm not sure that's a word, much more. So that's it for the content today, and I'm going to take some time to take your questions. So if you do have questions, please post them now in the chat box, and I'll be happy to have a look at them and answer them live right now. While you're doing that, first I want to thank you all for showing up. I'm really excited. So many of you showed up live, and if you're watching the replay, well, thank you so much for that too. If you would like to download my 7-step guide to building an art business and career, just go to www.theartistentrepreneur.com/guide. If you want to join 11,000 artists from all over the world who are doing the same exact thing as you, join me on the Artist Entrepreneur Network Facebook group. It's totally free. It's a lot of fun. And it's not just about me, it's about that community. People are great. It's very positive. It's very supportive. And we love to celebrate wins. Okay, I have a few questions. Customer experience. What if you don't? Okay, so who's asking this question? I'm not seeing the top of it. Krista. Okay. Customer experience. What if you don't have the contacts of the collectors, work sold through galleries? Okay, well, already if you're selling through galleries, then you're kind of shifting the customer experience to the gallery, right? So we were clear on that. It's more the gallery who's going to make sure that the customer gets the good experience. So you as an artist and as the person who's controlling your personal brand, the first thing is you need to make sure that the gallery you're working with, Krista, is, you know, up to par with what you want in terms of your brand, what you want to put out there in terms of your brand, in terms of the buyer experience, right? So that's the first thing I would say. After that, well, you have, you know, during opening nights, you know, the way that you engage with the people when you have, you know, a show that's opening, being there, being present. And being present, if you have a show that's going on over more than just one evening, being present while the show is happening. You know, the show doesn't end on opening night. If you're open for a month, doing a meet the artist midway through the show, like maybe 2 weeks after, things like that. That will create customer experience. You could also, you know, tell your gallery that you want to send a personal thank you note when they ship the piece, and prepare a personal thank you note that you give to your gallery, and they add it to the piece when they ship it. There are a lot of ways for you to connect. I know galleries who have no problem, like if you have a good relationship with your gallery, a trust relationship that they know that you won't go behind their back to sell directly so they don't get the commission. Some of them will let you have contact information of their clients if it means that you add them to your newsletter and they get more information from you, and it creates hype around you, and they want to know more, and then they come back to the gallery because they want to buy more. The important thing is that you don't break that bond of trust between you and your gallery, that the gallery knows that even if you are in contact with the buyer, anytime they want to buy, they'll still go through the gallery, and you'll encourage them to do so. You won't sell them directly. I work with artists who, many of the artists I work with are represented by galleries, and the galleries always are happy when the artists promote themselves more, think about their branding more, because the more they promote and they brand themselves and they're out there, the better it is for the gallery too, right? The gallery sees direct results from the artist doing that. So you need to see the work with the gallery as a partnership, and I think you need to be open and transparent with them, and even maybe have a chat and say, I want, you know, to make the customer experience even better for my collectors. How can we work together to make that happen? Okay, broad. About customer experience. I recently finished a character portrait for a client and followed up with a personal email about his experience commissioning from me. I asked only 4 questions versus a traditional survey, but he has not replied. I'm uncertain if a phone call would be appropriate. Are there any other ways I can get feedback after the sale is made? I would say, okay, first, maybe if you're going to do this again, which I totally recommend, and I think it's a great idea, I would make sure to tell them after, like right during the sale, to let them know that this helps, like that you will be asking them. I would follow up and say something like, I've noted, like I haven't heard back from you, and then tell them why it's so important, right? Why it's so important for them to help you with this. So share that why. And the other thing is maybe 4 questions that they need to answer, like is too much, depending on, you know, who that person is, what they do. Maybe it's just too much trouble for them. So maybe you could say, well, listen, if answering it 4 questions is, you know, too much trouble, then could I ask you to simply, and then XYZ, you know, just give me a very 1-sentence testimonial, or maybe you can give them 1 or 2 other options of something they could do. So I would definitely, and sometimes people just forget, you know, I've given testimonials and sometimes I've forgotten, and it just wasn't because life got in the way, right? So I would just, you know, reply back and just remind them and tell them why it's so important, and why it's so important that you want that person in particular, you know. So remind them about the experience that you had together and why you think you absolutely want them on your website, because, and whatever reason that you can share with them. But I would make it very specific on the why, and you need the testimonial and why them. Merci beaucoup, Isaac, for the great job. Hopefully you were talking to me. Okay, Tess, is there a software in particular you recommend for knowing your numbers? There's like a bunch out there, but you know what, Tess? A simple spreadsheet, a simple Excel, if you're just getting started, with 4 or 5 metrics that you will measure on a regular basis, like maybe once a month or once per quarter. It will take you a few minutes, so you can start visualizing a few trends. So I don't, like, I'm the kind of person who always recommends start small, but start. So I don't want you to start like starting to shop softwares, figuring it out, putting it into your system, and all this time you're not doing anything. It's another form of procrastination, you know, finding the right stuff. Like, you just need an Excel spreadsheet and to take a snapshot of your business on a consistent basis. And depending on where your website is built, your website builder will probably, or you can add Google Analytics, but it's really just about taking those information. So the website builder, if you're on WordPress, you're gonna get a lot of information. If you're on Squarespace also. So it's just taking that data from your sales, from your costs, and then putting them into a spreadsheet so that you can measure them. But you don't need a big system when you get started. The more you grow, then you can, you know, talk to your accountant and look at software and things like that to measure those. But you don't need those to get started. Isaac, with your top 10 artist mistakes, what do you struggle the most with and why? Myself as an entrepreneur? You want to know me? Which one I struggled with the most? Oh, that's a good question. Or the one that I see most artists struggle. Isaac, which one? The one that I see most artists struggle? Asking for the sale. I would say asking. Oh, me. I'm not afraid of asking for the sale. Which one? I would say track and measure. Definitely not my biggest forte, but I do it. I give myself a little piece of chocolate when I'm done as a way to, or gummy bears. So when I do it, I make sure that I have something to look forward to, because it's not my forte. But since I've been doing it, I've seen major shifts in my business, because I know where I should put my energy. And also I know that the dollars I spend, because one of the things I see a lot of artists do, and it's scary, and it was the same way when I started, it was, you know, putting money into the business, right? You hear all these, you know, $100 startup trends, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna start this on a shoestring. And of course, I'm not telling you to invest 50 grand in your art business as you start. You need to, you know, build up slowly, but it's scary to invest in your business, and it's scary to invest in support and maybe an assistant, maybe some software, maybe some ads, maybe a mentor, a coach. I know it's tough, but I can tell you that if you're tracking and measuring, you're going to see the direct correlation between the investments that you make and the results. And then it doesn't become an expense anymore. It makes total sense. So when you talk about it with your spouse, with your family, with your partner, that, okay, I'm going to put this much into the business for X, Y, Z reason, you know there's going to be a return. You're confident about it. The person you're talking to about it sees that you know what you're doing, sees that there is value in investing, so they'll support you. I can say for myself, and I can say for the people that have worked with me, when you have skin in the game, when you're investing, things start to change. Because when you start investing, you're like, oh, this is serious, so I need to track this. Like, I'm not just, you know, throwing my money away. I need to track it. I need to measure if this is working. And really, that's when you get the results. So yes, that's what I put it in there. And I'm going to tell you the whole truth. If you were in the first people who signed up for my webinar, at first I said the type 9 mistakes that artists make. And I added the 10th one earlier this week, because I was like, yes, I still need to talk about this because it's so important. And every time I talk about it, my clients and lab members and the Artist Entrepreneur Network, it resonates with people. So I thought, okay, I'm going to add it. So I think you are saying might be okay. Whoop, I missed this one. Whoops, oops. I have another question here, Kathy. I think what you're saying might be okay for gallery to let you have some customer on their list to send info to, as long as the partnership is a trusting one. So I can ask to see if they will let me have some leads. I don't have a huge email list yet, which I need to establish. This is my weak point. I hope this is clear. As I like the gallery I'm in, I just have to open up to them and work more with them. Just confirm I need to communicate more. That's all. Okay. Yes, Kathy, it's a partnership. So from the time that you decide that you want gallery representation, and then you seek gallery representation and you get gallery representation, it needs to be clear that this is a partnership. Not only are you splitting the profits 50-50, you're splitting the business, you know, the relationship, it's 50-50. They have a job to do, you have a job to do. And I've seen so many artists be disappointed or frustrated because they're not getting the results they want working with their gallery. And the first thing I ask them is, well, have you had a conversation about it? Have you been open? Have you suggested anything? Have you come with a plan? Because, Kathy, if the gallery is making money, you're making money. If you're making money, well, no. If the gallery is making money, you're not necessarily making money because they might be selling other people's work and not yours. But if you're making money, if you're selling, the gallery is making money because it means they're selling your work. So the more you can be proactive and the more you can be constructive with your gallery and show them that you are on top of things and you want to collaborate and you want it to be a successful partnership. Who would say no to that, right? Who would say no to that? And if they say no to that, then you need to ask yourself a few questions. I think I have another question at the bottom. Trying to scroll down. Okay, Kelly. What size collection number of pieces are adequate to launch your website and list pieces for sale? I'm building work and content, but people asking me to sell. Do I sell pieces before I have enough to list? Confused as what to do. I think I know which Kelly this is. Okay. Kelly, always take the sale, lady. You take the sale. Like, I'm sure there are people who are listening to this and are saying, what? She has people who wants to buy and she's not sure if she's going to sell. And you know what? You're not alone, Kelly. You're not alone. I hear this a lot. I'm not ready to sell. I have artists that had gallery wanted to represent them and they're like, I'm not ready. And I want you to ask yourself, when are you going to be ready? It's like having kids. You're never really quite ready. If you wait to be ready, you'll never have kids, right? So if you have someone who wants to buy from you, you sell. You'll make more work later. I mean, and when you want to launch your website, I would recommend that you have at least one body of work. So one body of work, which means around maybe 8 to 15 pieces, right? Because I've also seen the opposite, Kelly. So artists who complain to me that they're not selling, and then I go on their website and there's like 2 pieces up there. Well, unless they're artists that only do commission, but still. And yes, Roger, that is a great suggestion. Document your work. Anything you sell, you still need you always need to document it. You always have to have images, and you can write it on your website as, in a private collection. You can have a section on your website that are more of a portfolio of things that you've created and you've already sold, especially if you do commissions, right? Because maybe if you don't do commissions, it's different, but if you do commissions, it's good to show work that was sold and things you've done in the past, because that might inspire people to say, oh, there's nothing that I'm seeing here that I would like to buy right now, but I saw this piece you did a while ago, and if we could have a conversation, I might like something that's similar. So no, never wait. If there's somebody ready and hot to buy, you just sell, lady. Melissa, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yes, always sell. Isn't that the reason you want to put on your website anyway? Exactly, right? You can always launch your website with works that are sold. I know people who have been surfing on a Facebook page for 2 years and they haven't gotten to the point of building their website because they're so busy creating and selling. Well, that's great. I mean, yeah, that's the goal at the end of the day, right? So you need to look at what your top goal is. What is your vision? What is your goal? Is your goal income related or is it website related? Probably you're going to tell me that your goal is income related. So that's the action that you want to take. The first action that's going to give you income, not the first action that's going to get you closer to a website. Voila! So we went a little bit over time, but I was able to answer hopefully all your questions. Again, if you have any follow-up questions, I hope that you will join me on the Facebook group. And, you know, just come in and tell me how you like the webinar. Let me know what kind of topics you would like me to address any other time. I'd love to hear from you. And I want to thank Andy and Thomas again from Art Square for inviting me to do this webinar with them. It was fun. Anyway, it was fun for me. I hope it was fun for you. I hope you found it useful. And I look forward to connecting with you on Facebook and through our the Facebook group very, very soon. So voila, this is it for today. Stop sharing. This is me. And I'm wishing you a great day. Bye-bye.